I live in a mining community. I live in an extractive zone where those brothers and sisters, even in Aichuni and Kokwani, and where 60 or more percent of the logs come from or through this region. So to have the opportunity as regional member of parliament to be part of the natural resources oversight, I want to assure Region 10 that as the extractive sector demonstrated in this country, not only in oil and gas, but every area of growth is measured as a plus for every one of those sectors, and Region 10 still looking the way it is. Take that as an issue. So not only as a matter of being able to speak as your regional member of parliament, but being assigned this portfolio helps me to allow you to represent the residents of Region 10 to appreciate, do we see growth? 133% bauxite will be growing by. You check the mid-year report. We got it at Parliament from the Minister of Finance. Check the report. 133% bauxite. And we workers last month rowing for 0.5%. That was the biggest celebration of both sides in the government, that the workers will get 0.5% this year and 0.5% next year. So understand, when you have 600 workers at both sides, how directly related the extractive sector and the general natural resources sector is very relevant. Both sides represents the largest single private sector investment and employer in the town of Linden. And yet still we had hundreds of workers in the streets a few months ago squabbling for 0.5%. It's important that we understand, as we see the extractive sector, forestry, where we have almost 30,000 implied indirectly and directly from. You ask the brothers in Kokwani and Aichuni how much it is a struggle when 16% growth is projected for them to even get a cut of the concessions. They have to go all the way in Unamco Road. You ask them outside of even being able to make an honest living. But we see everybody coming in, all the different companies coming in, and we do in the AP, and you understand, as a responsible party in government, is that you are understanding of multinationals and how those investments are made. But as I said, as we see the growth, and this government boasts of it, where do we see the development? Look around in Linden, look around in Kokwani, look around this country. When 45% or more of our people, especially in Linden Region 10, still lives in poverty. I ain't saying that, that's a fact. That is a fact. And Linden and Region 10 that pushes all this. So those are the issues I'm going to come back to on the matter of parliamentary issues that we're representing. Those are the two principal focus areas: natural resources and public service, more so in the area of Ministry of Government Services and Efficiency. And those are the areas of focus, especially for the rest of the week and beyond, that I will be building on. In the area of natural resources, safety and mines, I'll be asking a few questions of the minister, both labor and natural resources, and also the contracts of these companies that are coming in, to ensure that Guyanese know, just like we know, they make nice, when the coalition being there, we want to see the oil contract, we want to see the oil contract. It is not a good contract. But all of we in this country have seen the oil contract. We saw it, they're criticizing it. But here what? All of we making big benefits of what we never had before after that same bad contract. But to date, these are the mining contracts, not one, even the ones that were recently signed, we cannot see. So we won't know if we left him back with big holes in the community. We won't know how our workers will be treated. We don't know the issue proper of taxation and royalty. So I'll be dealing with those matters. But let me get to the second issue of our discussion this evening. And that is to do with our visits yesterday to a few facilities around the region. And we started this last week and even before, and I'll get to the issue of the RDC matters as we move along. But I also want to thank the 5 APNU councillors who also joined in with myself and others, and I want to thank them for taking on this initiative of starting the process of going out and look at some of these projects. So they would have gone out and they would have inspected some roads, they would have went out and they would have looked at some areas of other infrastructure that comes through the region. And we took that on also, myself as the Member of Parliament, to look at some of the other projects that are coming through the ministries. We looked at the project for the recording studio early in the week. And if we can remember when Honorable Nima Flew-Best in the last Parliament had raised this matter of a digital recording studio in Region 10, the minister didn't even know what was happening with the studio, you know. And I think it's important, and I'll give a breakdown because, as I said, we just left the issue of my portfolios that I'm looking at under those two shadow ministry. And I want to take on these projects that we were looking at, as I said, as the second talking point before we get to the issue of the regional chairman and the RDC issues. But as I said before, coming back to those projects that we were analyzing, assessing, inspecting, and the issue of the digital recording studio. Again, let me just give me a minute, see somebody calling. 1 minute. All right, sorry about that. So I'm trying to get through. I saw some persons asking some questions, so I'll get to those questions just now. All right. So as I said before, we were asked to look at some of these projects from the RDC, and we looked at the digital recording studio. So coming back to that, the importance of ensuring that these projects are completed, that these projects are able to benefit and serve the intended purpose that they're being built for is important to us in the APNU. It's very important. And we know this because we understand the importance to you, the public. A digital recording studio may seem isolated when you hear that 32 million, Sharma, what we are talking about. How does that hold any relevance to us? What does this matter to us? But let me say this. The best entertainment zone in this country is the tongue of Linden, the region of region number 10. At this moment, this region holds the Calypso Monarch crown in Quincy Lacon or Lincoln, I think his name is. We hold the Soca Monarch in Diana Chapman. We have some of the best entertainers and people who came through digital recording background in this country. You go on the radio probably tonight, you'll hear the Teddy Bear and DJ Akilo. Some of the best voices in Royal Tony, some of the best announcers in this country, some of the best musicians and entertainers at this moment are being starved. Those who are coming up, those who are to benefit, those who are to culture this community, to give it a sound, a voice. I just saw Shrimpy asking a question. You imagine how much more shrimpies we have, how many more that are there in the arts and culture environment that needs that voice, that clear Crips voice, that needs to find the money, that needs to go to Georgetown for so many years so that they can get this thing done. And I was told that the contractor is, I'll get the contractor name shortly, but that is the issue of these very important projects in this region, that we nonchalantly think that to even comment on them is taking a political angle more than how important and valuable it is for the development and culturing of this community. And I think as a collective, we must see that as an insult and more so as an indictment on those who think they can perpetrate that sort of narrative. It is most important. $32 million. The building is no less than just the four walls up. Over 2 years in, with the uncertainty of as the year closed now, what is going to be of the project, because spending will have to stop at the 31st of December, as any budgetary project goes. And for every year these projects are delayed, it costs this community more, because it is then a gleeful point to be made by the government that we spend $89 billion on the people of Linden without, on Region 10, without saying that because of the rollover of Bamia, the money went up. Because of the rollover of Sports Club, the money went up. Because of the rollover of Bayrock, the money went up. Because of the rollover of the recording studio, the money went up. At the end of the day, I'll then come and say, at least you get something. But at what cost? So I just show you two costs. Cost of the community losing an opportunity to have our people cultured and benefit from something that we're entitled to, because we've always been cultured in this country as we are right now. We have the two monarchs. We have some of the best vices in this country. Garden and all of them come through digital recording environment. And to date, we have no clue about what is happening at that studio. They said the finishing, I saw the MP, Nima Flew Best, who I'm grateful brought this matter up, and we've been paying attention and will continue to, say that they said it is expected to finish on the 31st of December. Four walls are up, 31st of December. Four walls are up. They're saying it's going to finish in less than a month, or just about. Y'all understand how they take this community for granted? So that's one project that we visited yesterday, and we've been following up in the week. And it's important that as we pay attention to these issues. So, you know, I know my boy Baba Man Best. Best discussed some of the best songs in this town. And we don't have this artist studio. We have two young men who try to ensure that they can give us songs and vibes, but that is not enough. And at what cost does this come at? So when you see the members of parliament and regional officials on some of these matters, it is not just that we can try to embarrass, and no, it is so that we can identify with you, the public, how much you stand to lose first by not having these assets culturally, how it affects the community, and how it affects development of our culture and young people, and economically when the government makes the point of the amount of monies they're investing in this community, that is not necessarily so. Very important. But then we had the opportunity in the same space on the second issue to check the Bayrock Community Center. And let me say just how ridiculous it was. And I'll give the gentleman yesterday who aggressively confronted us an opportunity to relate to him. So I'm going to use this program, this discussion. At no point will discuss people by name or to get personal. The issues, as people know my politics coming through the campaign, and generally have always been, because it keeps us focused. And coming down into the conversation, for those who want to think it's about them, that's okay. But it will be about the issue. And I want us to stay focused on those. Very important. Very important. So we went to the Bayrock ground yesterday, where we were confronted aggressively, very aggressively, almost to be chased out of the venue, which, can't happen. Nobody can chase me out to no venue in this town. And I only talking so because I'm telling you of a position of authority here. We jump enough fence around sports club for people keep we out anything. So we know to get it, notwithstanding people trying to keep we out. And there's a warning for those who trying to keep we out. Just know that the fence got to be more higher than we can climb for us to not get in the venue, which is not yours, by the way, which is not yours. And to think that we had thousands of children using the Bayrock ground over the past week for several school sports, inter-house, inter-schools. And we were being asked not to take pictures out because somebody felt embarrassed. And that's why I'm not going to deal with the locals, because it was highly inappropriate for us for them to even come to us and for them to even think they could have said to us not to even be there to take a few pictures. But what that did today, it got the Minister of Sports and his entire machinery, newsroom, and everybody put out aerial photographs of the facility as if to say, look at Bayrock, look where it is. I remember during the campaign, I said this to the good folks at Constituency 8, as I just said about the digital recording studio, what these things are doing to you. It is retarding your developmental in the region 10. You can imagine 8 years in, 8 years in, 8 years in, the Harbor Bridge. Come, damn it. I want to use more expressive words. Come on, man. 8 years in. A project that started 3 governments now. 3 governments. 3 governments. This is the second Ali government. And when we visited that site yesterday, the only thing the ministry and the government can do today, you check the machinery from Barajagdio, Ramson did a piece today. They put out a newsroom, an aerial photo today, because the mayor, Dominique Blair, the member of parliament, Nima Flew Best, a cameraman, and yours truly, member of parliament, Sharma Solomon, visited the venue yesterday. They're going to put out optics on a venue that has now spanned 3 governments. No shame. No shame. And here further to that, 8 years. The Harbor Bridge came and done. Come and done. The minister is proud to just show an aerial photo. And when you go on the ground of what is going to be delivered to this community, when you go on the ground, then gotta remove that track, because the track don't tear up an hole. Y'all saw for yourselves. We ain't gonna take pictures, but y'all saw the school sports Friday and the rain that had children under the stands in umbrella. 8 years in. And all they wanted to do was keep us out yesterday, which they know they can't. And I found it very ridiculous of those gentlemen, especially an individual, and his conduct most unbecoming. Because what we are doing is not as members of parliament or as an opposition. And even so, what if the government finds itself in an embarrassing situation of incompetence to have thousands of our children running in an incomplete pavilion, and proud to put that on display today to say what to you, Linden, that you should be glad. At least you get something, run upon that. 8 years. No shame. No shame. None. Not an ounce. So we showed you the digital recording studio. We showed you what's going on at the Bay Rock Community Center, at the synthetic track. And like I said, when I went to constituency 8, during the campaign, and let me say for those good folks living and remind them what we said on the campaign in the Bay Rock, Wiz Rock, Block 22 area, 1 mile area. You imagine tonight, Sunday night, you home tonight, Sunday night. Imagine that facility with 10,000 people at some gospel concert or some big entertainment event. That should have been so 4 years ago. Imagine the economy around that area 4 years on now. And most of those people in that area where they live in Prosville, we call them poor people. We said them as squatters, but here what? At this moment, they will be the richest people because most of them ain't got no mortgage to pay. And some of them don't got the title, especially in Block 22. So you imagine if the economy around that constituency is so stimulating, what it does for the average household and business in that area. And that is what this government has been retarding your development with. That's one area. But then think about them not completing that 8 years in. And they finished that 4 years now, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. You know where we would have been? To the second phase of development of what could go within that space, even if it's an aquatic center. And the ministry, the minister, without shame, first, keep them out. And secondly, because they know I will speak on it today, and I'll put out a video shortly, which I will. The whole machinery come down today with Ramson, the vice president newsroom, to show you an incomplete facility because they think that is the thing to impress you. That's what you deserve. At least you're getting something. No shame, none. But then we went over to the Mackenzie swimming pool. So that we did look at the Bay Rock synthetic track. I can assure you that that track, for those experts who know about tracks, is in no shape. You see how far they took it from? Till at the top. They couldn't come down. You see how far the angles were from? Far from it. Because I am not the one who said it's leaking. I ain't even show you a picture. We ain't even had time to show that. You know why? Because you know that. Y'all sight for yourselves. Y'all children were in there with umbrellas in an almost completed facility. Sheltering. I don't have to convince you of anything. We just spoke on what we know to be the facts. But when we left that facility, we came over the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. I don't care what they call it. It's still the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. It's a members club. And no amount of hiding the information because we're in Parliament now. And we know who owns that facility. And it's the members of the club, this facility. And as much as the ministry behaves the way it is, I'm still part of the members and the sports club membership that we have our discussion, though it's many times political. The legal body standing there is the club, but we'll come to that. But we saw the contrast in the seats, and this is important for you to listen to, Linden. Because somebody took your heritage in that sports club ground. And they not only took the heritage, they took the heritage that comes with Mackenzie Sports Club ground, which promoted athletics and more so football. And they're going to make it a cricket ground. So they think. Not they hope, they think. Can you look at the contrast of the preparation? You see them red seats you see over at Bayrock? It's because it's Wisma. It's cross the pond people. I telling y'all, I ain't creating a narrative. And for those nice posh cricket seats at sports club, it's for a different audience. Y'all understand what's going on in this town. Understand what is going on in this town. So when we sat on those colorful red seats yesterday at Bayrock, and then we went over to the lovely blue seats at Sports Club, we knew exactly the audiences that those facilities are being prepared for. But I can assure you, Linden, I can assure you, Region 10, for as long as I is a little by jumping them fence, and we know to get into them facilities, and as for long as I'm the regional chairman and mayor and knew and know now about the ownership of these facilities, they will always belong to you, the people of this town, to decide on how they will be developed, advanced, and for the use and purpose of your interests. That is the bottom line. It belongs to you. But then we, excuse me, we had a chance as we looked at Sports Club to look at the swimming pool. And I'll put out a video on the swimming pool that belongs to the municipality that they just rooted up and obstructed for the past several years, denying an entire fraternity in this town. And for those who are paying attention today, let me commend Mary Chung and Lisa Cheto and those valiant, those very hard-working women for the valiant effort and service that they put in to the art and culture of swimming in this town. And we have disrupted the Mackenzie swimming pool, which is an asset of the municipality. As mayor, I knew before we were pursuing it, the PPP appointed town clerk made every effort so that you, the people of Linden, cannot understand and appreciate what is happening with your public swimming pool that would have created in this town of Linden some of the best swimmers and the best athlete. I know my good friend Orland Tom and so many others, even my good friend called Yorklees. We had and still do have, you call it now, the best swimmers in this country. Today, Auntie Mary and Lisa and the women showed us that by even having the river swimmers that started 2 years ago when we had the Burnham Dry Fiesta. I'm glad to see Auntie Mary and the women still having that event in the river. But let me say what the absence of the Mackenzie swimming pool have done. It has now forced our young people to have to find almost $1,000 to go to private swimming pool to practice whenever it comes to national. Let us not forget Linden Region 10. This is one of the most watery community in terms of having all of the water features more than any other region in this country. We got lakes, we got rivers, we got creeks, and we got all of them that we put to full use, whether it's in swimming, kayaking, and so many other things. So to have such an obstruction, at least required some level of discussion and planning. But you know what? A government that doesn't value your culture, doesn't value the history. I remember as a little boy, sports club, I live in Dakama Circle. I must be the last man I must learn to swim. But our parents were very protective. So, we were the last to get to that side of sports club. Everything else in sports club we did. As a national footballer myself, as a national table tennis player myself, as a competitive basketball player myself with Kings, as a competitive billiards player for sports club juniors, as a competitive table tennis player for Mackenzie High School. There isn't a sport at Mackenzie Sports Club that I have not done competitive except swimming. And that's a different conversation. But let me tell you what, it was the most interesting part of Mackenzie Sports Club. We produced the finest. Every Sunday, the culture and the art of swimming was created by the YMCA pool on a popular level. All of those brothers and sisters that live in Kamaka could not wait to come to the Mackenzie swimming pool to showcase just how talented they were. We broke the whole thing up. Just tear it up, broke it up, just tear it up. Because you know what? People who don't value our culture could not appreciate that even as they do that, what do they replace this culture? Just like football, tear up Mackenzie Sports Club, broke it up, 7-6 years now. I remember when in top 20 as a player in this town, we had a national team in the 90s. Let me tell you how bad for days, I giving you fancy parlance now, Linden was. That from one football club called Top 20, 11 men made the national team for an Inter-Guyana squad. From one club. Imagine how powerful an association we had. If one club got 11 men going to the national team. Today, we struggle to find players to even go to trials for a national team. Tear it up. It's the same thing that happened with swimming. And that's what we uncovered. So this barrage of what you saw or see today is because yesterday we took a walk at those three facilities. We looked at the digital recording studio. We looked at the Bayrock Community Center, more so what they now call the Bayrock synthetic track. And then we also had a chance to look at the Mackenzie swimming pool and the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. All right. So I'm just giving you that as your regional member parliament, that when you see this government coming out so aggressively to create an obstructive narrative, it's not in your best interest, Lyndon. And I know what's going to happen. They're waiting until they can hold back. Aha, at least you get something. You see that they're running this thing down. We have never gone against development. I have never. Is the Mackenzie Sports Club in need of upgrading? Absolutely so. Could it have been done differently? Certainly. Am I against a new swimming pool being built? Absolutely not. Could it have been done differently? Certainly. Because what that shows in other communities, Linden and Region 10, this doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You don't see the obstruction of an entire public, the life, the culture, without replacing it with something, except it is done in communities like these, Linden. That's a fact. I served as president of the Upper Demerara Football Association. I've been around football my whole life. Football, I'm so grateful that would have given me, as I advance in life, even now as a member of parliament, my discipline, my culturing. I owe a whole lot to football and Jimmy McLean and the Top 20 Football Club. At this moment, I'm still the president of Top 20 Football. I served as president of the Upper Demerara Football for several years and the executive positions we held. So not only as now I am in a different realm, I cannot appreciate just how obstructive this and these decisions are and were to not only the sport, but as such an involved individual who played national football, who lived youth football, who administered football, have been culturing this community through sports such as football that gravitate to our young people more so in the grassroots communities. So this exercise that we did yesterday was to have that appreciation, and we saw that sort of obstruction at both the Mackenzie Sports Club and also at the swimming pool, and with no replacement or even no understanding. And at Parliament, remember, as the mayor, we got someone there who was appointed to not do our work. We don't have to ask them to engage. As your member of Parliament now, I want you to know, as I want to thank Comrade Nima Flew Best for coming to the community yesterday. We will certainly be raising these matters in Parliament, because you might say, but what Parliament could do? Well, hear what? A lot of those spending, and you might say, but well, yeah, I could stop. But you know what? You didn't know if it didn't come through Parliament. What was happening with that digital recording studio? It is through Parliament that we even knew about that and even get an understanding of the spending. So again, all of these unanswered questions about what is happening in terms of development in this community, we will certainly be bringing up. And let me just say this. This anti-development talk that you hear from people like Edgel and others, it is most at this moment unfortunate. And why is that so? Because if you look around in this community now, right now, and you can see pictures that they show you, let us not forget Linden Region 10, Guyana, that this is the second Ali administration. It matters not if it's months. This is an island gas economy. We are now going to be producing with these new wells, and I'll come back to natural resources in the week, 900 barrels of oil every day. 900. We're slowly moving to that 1 million barrel a day. A day. A day. Now, when you turn on your taps in the morning, do you see that? And I ain't talking about the color of the oil, because sometimes the water almost look the color. But I'm talking about the development that they're telling us about. And when we speak, they say that we're anti-developed. That is what I'm asking. Do you see that? Do you see, when you go to the store, the issue of cost of living not being a burden on you? Do you see that? Or what do we see as this government's agenda is the narrative of the looking for it and the eat a food culture? At least you got you in a point looking for it. And then when you get something like what they show with the drone today, at least a couple of people eating the food, you're getting something. Those are the sort of things that we will maintain our interest, our focus, our consistency, our representation in Parliament on your behalf to ensure that these matters remain the focus. If you notice, we have not dealt. My politics is simple, because I'm coming to the last issue of this dialogue on this live. As I addressed the first two, I said 4 matters, but this last matter we'll put into 2 parts. So the first part, as I said, we addressed the APNU's aggressive on-ground approach to ensure we reach out to communities and address our portfolios. My 2 portfolio of interests, and you can say 3. I do cover issue in the regions, but ministry-wise, I'm shadowing natural resources. I give you some of the areas of interest and matters that I'm looking at this moment. Mining safety, we saw one of the frustrated miners expressing his frustration. It represents a wider systemic safety concern that we are elaborating and articulating as a party. We talk about the contracts that we see government speaking of, all of the extractive sector expansion development, but that is not being reflected in our communities and in our own lives. And we want to see what those contracts say. And then I spoke about the issue of the public service and our EID, our e-government approach by this government to now have Guyanese surrender our life into this reckless government that have shown how they have managed data and data security hands. And then we looked at the visits that we had to those facilities on your behalf yesterday, the digital recording studio, the excuse me, the swimming pool and the Mackenzie Sports Club and Bayrock. And now I'm going to be addressing the regional matters. And let me just say quickly that as the APNU continue to ensure that we provide for you, as our commitment goes, right, proper, strong representation, we remain focused on all of the issues that continues to affect our people and how we could ensure that we bring right, proper, strong representation to each of those issues. Now, over the past few weeks, several going into a few months, we have had this issue of Region 10 and issues coming out of the 1st of September election and the results of what those parties who contested the election received in terms of votes. And that was a very important exercise that was conducted on the 1st of September. What occurred after that is most unfortunate. And I'm not going to spend too long on the issue of all of the issues that got us there, because trust me, it is a distraction in itself that is most unfortunate. But what presented itself, and I want us to really pay attention to this, were several opportunities, several golden opportunities that we missed, and we missed to our own convenience, and by now could have advanced significantly. And that for me, the first opportunity being after the 1st of September, we had gotten the attention of a few demographics, especially our young people, who needed to be properly enlightened and educated about what becomes of the electoral process post-election, which means after the election. What happens? What happens? What happens with a council? What happens with a parliament? How do these things work? You know, what they were given, however, wasn't that opportunity to learn. And we missed that opportunity by misrepresenting so many of the issues. You know, as a politician around, I have been in grassroots politics for some time. I can't say I care how they vote or where they vote, but I can tell you this, I was most excited to see that wide demographic of participation in the last election, especially from our young people. And what we have failed to do and I'm speaking of some of the parties out there, is to capture that imagination and to enlighten and to educate them, especially on post-electoral matters. So what we did, on the last few lives, I explained what happened at that election for a chairman and where we were in that process. That's the first live. The second live explained the negotiations with the Win Party and where we were in terms of identifying a chairmanship. And I'm going to elaborate on just two very important points with reference to this matter. Very important, because we've identified, as I said, two talking point areas. The first one was an educative session for our young people, especially to appreciate how representative democracy works, especially post-election, and how political parties conduct themselves in a representative way, whether in an RDC or a parliamentary representative setting. We did that. And we would hope our young people, if they want to be further educated, enlightened, it is our pleasure and our responsibility, as it is with any responsible political party, to educate our young people on just how this is important for them to know and learn. That there are issues and elements within that that becomes important for them to know so that they drive this system forward in a progressive way. That is important. So our 2 points are simple this evening, very simple. And I want to make this as pellucidly clear with reference to our handling of this matter on two very important principal positions. That the APNU, as we discussed these matters earlier before post-election, explained that our entrance into the position of the council with our 5 councillors, knowing that we have the second highest seats in the council, made every effort, which has not been refuted, not by a single individual and cannot be refuted, of our sincere efforts to ensure that this matter ended with our first request for chairman of committees. Story done. Story done. So the first principle is that the APNU did not get us in this position. So I'm hearing all of this as if suddenly we are the problem and we are power hungry. No, we are humble, we are responsible, we understand politics, and we know our role in the society with regards to representative democracy, and knowing our role with the outcome of the 2025 elections. We know that. Nobody have contested that we started out at a point that could have ensured that this matter had ended up front. So don't come speaking to the APNU, more so yours truly, who on behalf of the APNU in this region represents these matters and have been speaking on them. Nobody have contested what we are saying, no one. And I'm not going to allow people to bring about different outside arguments when that is a factual position. We started out asking for 2 committees, and I'll name them now: the Commemoration Committee and the Education Committee. Story should have done right there. We were told no. We said, good, give us the vice chairman. We were told no. So how come We are now being blamed. And let me say this further. We have already said the only reason we place Mr. Blair in the race, or reasons, is because councillors made that request. Candidates at the time made that request after they recognized that we had an unwilling partner to recognize that even though they had the popular vote in win, that if they had that majority to call themselves chairman and vice chairman, then they would have done that. So how we get it? We get it through greed. We've already said that. I'm not going back on that. So we got here not because of the APNU. One. And two, of the second principal position. Why are we being accused of the one to get us out of here? So we ain't get we here. And nobody can refute that. Not a single person can refute that. And I want nobody to scamper past the irresponsibleness of what got us here, and the greed and the immaturity, that it could have been settled since then, to skip past all of that and not hold those responsible for getting us here responsible by overlooking those very principal positions that should not have gotten us here. How can you overlook those? How can you overlook my sincerity? How can you overlook my unclenched fists and my extended hand in this dialogue? How can you? How can you? To get to the point of trying to insinuate as if I am holding this region back, and not the I in Sharma alone, but the I in the APNU. How could you? How dare you? How dare you overlook a sincere position? I serve as regional chairman. I'll come to that just now. I'll come to that. But how could you overlook the APNU sincere? How could all these little, how could people run around this place overlooking that? And then pretend as though and mislead this public as if we weren't sincere in our approach to this. How could you do that? And then making a whole weak conversation on this as if we got us here. No, we did not. We did not. And then try to say as if we can take us out of here. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? How can we take us out of here? The RU yesterday said, which though unconstitutional as it is, that this matter is back with the minister. The PPP is demonstrating that they have hijacked our local governance through our municipality, first with a clerk who first saying and recognize Mr. Blair as the mayor. And we had some of you cheerleading it on because it serves some of your narrow interests. We hear some of the shows, but we know the public is paying attention and will not be misled. So we got that hijacking of a local governance system. And now we have the hijacking of the RDC. But I'll come to what that means to Linden and Region 10. So for those who are distracted with their obstruction and miss this bigger picture, to think that we who have not gotten us here can take us out of here. It was the Win Party who recognized the people who can take us out of here. You know why? Because they went before the RU office. That is where it is directed, to the RU and to the minister. Our most important call at this moment is not outside settlement of who should be chair or vice chair. It is about ensuring constitutionally that meeting is called. What comes out of that based on the decisions and discussions and the conversations and bargainings and the discussion by the councillors, so be it. But constitutionally, our voices should be raised for that, because it's an indecency that Region 10 of all the regions doesn't have a chairman. But instead, you hear somebody say they give Sharma a letter. And for 2 days, a show as of yesterday and the days before recklessly made that an issue which had absolutely no truth to it. None. There is nobody in Wynn that can say they give me a letter. And I'm glad that I was told, I didn't watch the show, that Mr. Gorin intimated that that was not true. And I'm glad he would have cleared that up. But you know what? For the perpetrators of that reckless piece of propaganda, they will not come out and apologize, because they think job is done. That is what we have consumed ourselves with. Not that the hijacking of local governance is important for us to collectively place our voice where the importance of the matter lies, that there must be a meeting to get to our chairman. No. People think trying to come after me to look bad. Listen, I can't make it look bad, bottom line. Because we're not going to act outside of the systems and the protocols. We know to deal with this. We have been dealing with this. We aren't the one to get us here, and we aren't the one to get us out of here, but we are the one that are prepared to work to ensure that we get Region 10 a chairman. Bottom line, because that is what we should be working for. As a former chairman, let me tell you what's going to happen. So let me tell you Region 10. Let me tell you something. In the absence of your council, Region 10, you're not having oversight. And as far as I can think about, maybe 4 quick things I'll tell you about. Because if I was your chairman now, as experience would have had it, you know what? You're missing the oversight of, as the year come down, the amount of monies that might go back for incomplete projects. So under my tenure, for the years I've been there, you hear the tag the nonsense where people send back money. The monies don't be sent back. The monies are budgeted and given to you. What happens is if you don't complete a project, that money is then returned. We don't send it back. It is the administration's incapableness of not finishing a project and even council's oversight. So right now, this region don't know what projects we were unable to finish. So if it's a little sentence in Florida 7 or a little sentence Retrieve or a school in Kairuni or some one of them places, then we will not know why those people were not able to, in Block 22, get the community center. The money gone back. We ain't able to scrutinize that. Somebody want we look at that, and that should be where we must understand. You see, my politics is more mature than some of this immaturity nonsense of obstruction that people spend 2 days to say we collect some crap of a letter. What letter? So we don't have a chairman to pay oversight to those things and a council to do that and be directed by a chairman. But let me say further, this is the end of the year. And in every region, there are things called savings. So you know what's going to happen with the excess savings that comes out of the region? The REO is going to take that and give it to friends and families with no oversight. I set a little small 3-quote contract. I set a little cleanup work. I set a little family. No council is there to give oversight of that. The abuse, and again, what comes out is that how much billion, a hand and a foot in billions in the national budget will be said was spent for the region, and that is how it is being spent. So you don't have a council for that. But as your chairman, again, what would I have been interested in by now? Your budget. Your budget. This region is the only region that did not or was not able to aggregate the issues from you, the residents. Let me go to Kokwani. Let me go to Aichuni. Let me go to 47. Let me go to Retrieve. Let me go to West Watuka. Hear what farmers are saying. They need a new road. Them people in Kokwani need a better school. They needed to go into the budget. Them people in Half Mile need a new community center. Them people, none of that was allowed to be taken on board for this 2026 budget that's being prepared so that we can aggregate these things from you, the people, and prioritize them through the council to get them to your delivery. So no council, that wasn't done. But I can go forward again. As your chairman, I would have wanted to see the committees work so that we understand in preparation for matrimony, like how some people ridiculously, without even apologizing for that reckless behavior, about 11 million coming for MASH, have not been able to budget as yet for matrimony and many of the cultural programs in this region. So I would have wanted to know through your committees what is happening with agriculture, what is happening with education, what is happening with health, what is happening with public administration, what is happening with works. We see people talking about all of these roads and all of these concrete works, but you know what? There is no works committee where the works chairman gives his final signing off on some of these roads, but people are already receiving their retention. People are already getting outside of the liabilities and defects period, and we are complaining about. So there is no oversight, none. So do we condone this? Of course not. Are we the one to get us out of here? Of course not. Are we the ones prepared to work to get us out of here? Absolutely so. But how can we do that when all we doing in this region is misdirecting, and some of it is deliberate of the sort of misdirection of ignorance, that we are misdirecting people because we ourselves don't know, or it's deliberate in its personal attack. And I think it's the latter. I wanted to give the farmer the benefit of the doubt, but coming off of people accusing us of receiving a letter from the WIN party, which have absolutely no truth in. Nobody from WIN, not a single soul from WIN, could come and say they gave nobody from the APNU any letter. But you can imagine people who hold themselves in credible position made that an issue for 48 hours and will not take the same energy to correct themselves. Let me go further. And this is because of our professional conduct in how we have appreciated doing these sort of conversations. I've said this before. I am grateful for the experiences that we have learned, whether it's from Comrade Aubrey Norton, Comrade Carl Greenidge, even Comrade Lincoln Lewis, some of the best negotiators in this country. And we understand the principles and values of confidentiality. Nobody gave us any letter. I can say to you, however, the APNU, further to our desire to ensure that we are responsible partners, met with representatives of WIN, yours truly. It is the first time in this engagement that I have met with representative of WIN. I have done that. And I will continue to do that. And because I value and respect what I hope that we can build on, it is not for me to say what some of those discussions were. But what I can say to you, for the 2 hours that we sat down, for the 2 hours that representatives of WIN and I sat down, and they're very senior in the region. And I am hoping that it wasn't the last time when we had people who engaged WIN and other members of the party seem not to know what those dialogues and discussions were for 2 hours. And we discussed how we will carry matters of national importance to ensure that these issues are also effective at Parliament. We also spoke on issues. In general, I'm speaking because it is not for me to divulge that until I believe at this moment there is a point where we have to, and I don't think we have to. But I think it was rather unfortunate. I am not going to hold the people in WIN accountable for this not only misrepresentation, but this flagrant and blatant lie of a letter being sent to me by others. And we know who sent them out. We know who sent them out. We know who sent them out. You know, I've watched a show and I saw the deputy mayor, Mr. Blair. I saw that the mayor is now putting something on the screen, and he's right. A blatant lie that brought my character into disrepute, and nobody will apologize for that. And I don't need no apology either, quite frankly, because by now, just like the tongue weak matter that Mr. Blair is speaking about, and just like the matter with $11 million being given to the RDC for last matrimony, and just like Darren Adams get himself mixed up with some building, and now you hear with this letter being sent to me by WIN, none of them, absolutely not one of those issues are true. And those who have pronounced on them have been corrected publicly, as I was told Mr. Gorin did on Friday. But the people, as I said before, who perpetrated those misrepresentation may have done it in ignorance or personal interest. And I want to think it's the latter. But like I said before, our commitment remains consistent. And as I engage the WIN representative, we remain prepared to ensure that on those two principles, the public understand quite clearly where the APNU stands. First, principally, we are prepared to move this region forward as we have demonstrated by even accepting as we did, and not to elevate this matter as it have now, 2 committees. That is what we had settled for. It is not we who elevated this matter. It is not we who caused a Region 4 outcome and a Region 8 outcome. It is not we who said that we wanted to bury the PNC. And it is not we who refuse to accept at the most bare minimal the giving of 2 committees. It wasn't we. You can't now bring us into this. No. How can you do that and forget our sincere, unclenched fist to ensure we move this region forward, especially on those matters that I just spoke to you about? With an absence of a council and a chairman, what is actually happening? How can you now scamp past that and then tangle me in an irresponsible position? How can you do that? So we are saying clearly, I know, let me see, I know I started this at 5 o'clock and I should have finished at 6. I know I saw some questions coming in, and we are going to answer as much as them as we can. But as I said before, no one can say that they've given us any letter. Nobody, not a single soul. Nobody, they won't risk it. They won't risk it. They wouldn't risk it, you know why? Because they know that they will be putting their own character on the line, especially when we have sincerely been having our dialogue and engagement to ensure that we move this region forward. They won't risk it. But it's unfortunate that those who got that which they believe is aha moment, I got you here. I got you here with tongue week. Aha, the best tongue week in the history of this tongue, financially and by scope and capacity. That was missed. Aha, we got you. Not true. Not true, but we missed that. The Mashramani that needs such support, injection, government attention. Aha, we got you. Not true. Not true, but we missed the opportunity to ensure that we have a better Mashramani. A young man in Deran Adams who gives service to this community, indelibly so. My goodness. As the man about to gracefully bow out, what should we do the youth man by? What should we do to him? Aha, we got you. Not even true. Listen, I built like an armadillo. I'm a Muslim. We come from a different teaching. All them aha, you got me means absolutely nothing to me, nothing. Because now watch, it's not true. It's not true either. Somebody saying, no, come after life. Yeah, listen, I've already expressed, there's a lot more things to talk about. And I think we've made our point on those issues that we weren't the ones to get us here. The APNU have demonstrated through its leadership, including yours truly, our now mayor, Mr. Dominic Blair, persons in our central executive like Mr. Egerton David, Mr. Kensel Grenville, Councillor Webster, our councillors, Councillor Kisoon, those councillors who have been sworn into the RDC, our leader of the party, our remaining members of parliament. I am quite certain the public have recognized our level of responsible leadership that we continue to bring to you in that right, proper, and strong representative way. There's no amount of distraction of them aha moment and personal attacks should take you, Londoners in Region 10, away from the real focus of the issues affecting us. Some people are out to distract you. And that is what you must know. Outside of their sensational matters that they bring to you, they offer absolutely nothing of solution to us. And I think it's by time we all recognize what brings positive solution to us. We have to confront the People's Progressive Party. When you think you get a aha moment on Deran or a aha moment on Sham, who though they're slugging for each and every one of us every single day, you think your aha moment does what? Make me look bad? And then what? And then what? When I look bad, what? What? You look good? And then what? The people still hungry. What type of nonsense politics we playing every morning on this TV? Serious. Because trust me, y'all ain't gonna make me look bad. Not me. Because look at it. In trying to make us look bad, absolutely nothing that you've said is true. And then the PPP scamper off, we complain. The other day I wake up trying to get a very important document so that the public could see what happened in the Aurora mines. You know, I wake up to blackout. Blackout. Public can't know, public can't see. So we are commonly affected by these things and yet distracted by the most insignificant, petty nonsense every day by the people who most sincerely are prepared to work to help the collective of this community. So we score points because Sharma look bad. Serious? 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 Sharma look bad. We got to talk about the fact that we got all these investors coming in. How do we prepare ourselves as we watch our lands be snatched up? As we continue to watch our rights be violated with one TV station spitting poisonous nonsense every day to our people while denying you and I a voice to speak on the radio and the TV. Y'all trying to make me look bad? Serious? When all we are doing, and nobody can refute and will not be able to refute, is to work to ensure that we build to move this community forward. You imagine that. So no win party, no win representative, or nobody that acted on behalf of win can say those two things. And I know sometimes we are so caught up in our sentimental support for political parties. And oh, it's what the one Sharma said. I don't care what nobody said. This is facts. This is facts. We don't go there attacking political parties. We don't go there attacking personalities. We go there attacking the issues. Period. Nobody can say that they have not seen our politics to be that which attacks the issues. Period. As much as people get me caught up in the issue of, yeah, Sharma, that does. Think about just the example in this conversation right now. I can easily call names. I have no interest in calling nobody name. I will not give you people the life of calling your names because people know what we are talking about. The issue is most important. Most important. You are not going to be a distraction to the things affecting the people in this town. You know, you, the personalities, will not be a distraction to take us off of our war path to get people what they deserve. Clean water is what we want. Start there. Don't make Sharma and the town council an issue of clean water. We don't run Gaiwa. Kind of nonsense that's come down in this thing. Yeah? We got the sustainable development goals. It said by 2030, somebody just put it up. Y'all think we looking like we can get clean water? I got to drain me pipe. Almost, you know how much wasted resources that is? You don't know if you wake tomorrow 8 o'clock, they can get another 2-3 hours blackout. What is wrong with you people? We are so consumed because we want to forward. Listen, ain't nobody making I look bad to advance. If you want to advance, advance. Come out to people and show them what you can do. No win party, no individual who got political aspirations should understand that they're coming after the people who are out there and demonstrated before and have been demonstrated and will continue to demonstrate representation for our people. That if you hit me and make I look bad, you look good. And what does that advance for our people? What does that advance for our people? When we children still down the barrack sheltering in an umbrella and running in an unsafe environment, what does that do? All right, so I see my brother Hassim saying I should stay on a little longer. I think we have covered a lot of the issues. I don't want to get too monotonous in terms of the things we want to talk about. But as I said before, there is nothing that I've said on this live this evening that can be refuted. Absolutely nothing. As I said, when we speak with receipts. We remain engaged with the Win Party. We've met representatives from the Win Party locally. We will continue, if that needs be, to meet to advance the issues on behalf of this town. The issue of me receiving any letter is an absolute lie and maliciously being perpetrated by those who want to peddle that lie. We've received no such letter. No one from Win can attest to that. And I'm glad Mr. Gorin cleared that up to whatever extent. And we know what two issues that got us to this position, that the APNU, with its unclenched fist and its extended hands, came into this as a sincere partner to move the region forward. As a former chairman myself, I understand the importance of why we have to have oversight and the importance of having a council that can bring that oversight, and a council with a chairman and its councillors working with committees. I understand that. I take that not for granted as an institutionalist, but more so as a former chairman who saw for myself what this obstruction means to your people. But then we said the second thing, as we have not the ones to bring us to this point, you cannot scam past that and now put the trigger and gun in my direction and hold me to that account. And we are not the ones to take us out from here. How can we be the ones? We don't hold the constitutional power or authority. The Win Party have demonstrated that on both reflection of them going after the position of the speaker. So what we should be seeing Guyana is that the People's Progressive Party is prepared to hijack governance, good governance in this country, which prevents accountability and transparency. It prevents oversight. It prevents you, the people, from having your representatives to understand better on your behalf how to ensure that you get what you deserve, value for money, in this the richest country of the world, where 50% of you are still broke, dirty water, bad light, non-stop accidents on the road because the highways are not safe, they're not lit, they're not marked. How come now I become the enemy? What is wrong with these people that speak every morning? Listen, you hear the ignorance they're going to come back with because they can't defend themselves. And I'm trying not to get back there because they are now becoming a distraction to us, the people who should be looking for a solution. Whether we are the people in the APNU, we are the people in WIN, we are the people in Forward Guyana, we are the people who understand that Linden, the heart of Guyana, Region 10, the heartland of this country, with so many resources and so much to offer, should be in a far better position. That is the bottom line. We have a local government minister who's parading this whole country, and not even this whole country, just centralized with cameras attracting people while feeding off of the raw emotions of the sufferings of Guyanese. We see it every day and we think we can cheer it on. But hear what? This same local government minister neglects what is happening in your municipality by a clerk who the council have already identified with so many infractions that he shouldn't even be around because those infractions affect you, the people of Linden. Take the Wisma market, 18 million should have been spent a year now. Check what's going on with all of those obstructions. And the minister cannot to date come to this community on those matters. The minister came to Linden to look at the Bamia school and promised that it should have been open on the 1st of September. So even she, the honorable minister, just like Dharamlal, just like Sonia Parag, as local government ministers, have now missed deadlines for 800 children to get their school at Bamia. But she can't come to speak on what is happening at your municipality. Serious? She can't come to speak to what is happening in your regional democratic council, and you're making Sharma Salomon the issue. Y'all had good? Serious? What is wrong with some of these people that has graced this Facebook or this social media? Serious. We missing the real enemy, and while we are doing that, the enemy continues to inflict And I am not the one who is saying it. Y'all didn't see all them PPP people in Brung and Sherry and all them who confess that they're mismanaging the resources in this region. If y'all didn't believe in me all the time, and quickly we will scam past that and come back to sham again as the problem, which I have said before. I don't believe it's the farm, it's the lot, it's personal, and we can deal with that. And every day our people, those 2 youth men that died, yes, it's an accident, but y'all look at that accident site, it's black right now. You know how much people, more lives in danger? You ever try coming up that highway right now? You know how much people life in danger? You see how dark it is? I wrote something about it the day when those young men passed away. That we need to light the highway. Those things, we got all of these things. And you're making who the issue? The people who continue to speak, fight, stand up consistently, day in, day out on these matters. Serious? Because it helps who? It helps who? It helps who? Nobody can refute what I'm saying. Not a soul. I've said this before. We met with the representatives of when I personally did. And we had a very cordial and a very, very good conversation on many important issues, not only in the town, in the region, but nationally, and how we, as a collective, because I still believe that no matter what, no matter where we go in this region, we must also be able to project a position. As I've always said, don't tell me how you fit in Region 10 into the national agenda. I will tell you how I want to fit into this national agenda. And that's how Region 10 should be thinking. As a collective, how do we fit into this national pie? Not in a subservient way of you telling me what I can get when I am a major contributor, and more than anything else besides that, I am a Guyanese entitled, like every other Guyanese, to an equal share of every single thing. And I saw my guy Marvis online. I know you and I spoke. Marvis, I haven't gotten on to Ronald as yet. But Marvis represents one of the issues I spoke about earlier of small miners in this country who are being taken advantage of by large miners without proper representation from agencies like GGMCs and them. You understand? And those are now our concern, to ensure people like Marvis. But you know what Marvis represent? Marvis is not Linden, man. But here I'm telling you, we got more Linden men in the back down with a small drudge and a small mining that punishing like Marvis. Because big men who bringing in big companies, squeezing them out. That is our focus. I spoke with Marvis up to a couple nights ago. We to speak again. We crafting a way forward. You see, the man see crying. And this is a young man who, if you read the news over the past several weeks, it is his matter that I spoke about in the papers. Yeah, see a man right now on your screen relating to the practical things we are doing for them right now, Guy. He's a man on the line telling you that. And we got people in this village full of hatred and envy to bring distraction. I don't care how much time Mark clear it up. It wasn't Mark's place to clear up anything, because it should not have been said unless it was first confirmed. But we feel we had an aha moment to try to embarrass somebody. That is what the programs then become in this town. We had people who, before they repeated that nonsense, again, we spent 72 hours on that sort of nonsensical distraction before we take the time to see how we can help people like Marvis and ensure that we have safe mining environment for those young men. I know over 100 little youth from Block 22 and the Valley and 1 Mile who up in the bush, there in the back dam. They're 1,500 feet in Aurora underground mines before we make sure they're safe. We're talking a bundle of nonsense. That's what we're doing every morning. All right. So thanks for your time. You know, it's my prayer time, by the way, too. So I'm thankful for your attention and your time, and know that these issues are massive. Let me tell you something. Guyana, Linden, Region 10, these are tough times. These are massive issues. The issues that we are now dealing with in the APN, as I said, natural resources, my goodness, Guyanese, there is no reason for no single Guyanese in this country or out of this country to be so dissatisfied. There is no reason in this country for us to have dirty water, blackouts, constant obstruction. None. None. And I want to say that in all that is happening in this country, as I said earlier, the APNU and its leadership in this region will remain firm and committed to its principles of ensuring we put you first with right, proper, and strong representation. Thank you all. I want to say that your attention and your time was worth it. It is my first live that I'm doing since I've been, I'm now a member of parliament. I hope to make it frequent. I have to make it frequent. The information is too much. It is too much. The letter I wrote today, I ask if you can look at it. It's on my Facebook feed. It's very lengthy, but I can assure you there is no piece of information that could have been left out of that letter. But we will continue to break it down so it becomes more consumable and digestible, as we have to let you know these issues are very, very important to your lives. Thank you all. And Marvis, I see you sending some information. I had a conversation, as I did with you, with some representatives from Goldfield. I want you all to know that we are here for the small man. The small man is a real man. We said this in our campaign. We'll put you front and center, whether it's the digital recording studio, whether it's the Bayrock Community Center, whether it's you, the miners in the gold field, the miners in the bauxite industry, whether it's you, the public servants who are being bullied to use this EID. Listen, we got too much work to do. And this is why it's a little disappointed when we have these unnecessary distractions. And that's why I don't take them on, quite frankly. Because if we take them on, we wouldn't be able to do what we are doing this evening, quite frankly. All right. So thanks again, and do have a blessed, pleasant rest of your evening. May Almighty God bless each and every one of you.